You were sitting at a dinner table. The air is thick with the smell of roasting meat and expensive wine. Laughter erupts to your left, a chaotic, rhythmic cacophony of social validation. Everyone is performing. The dopamine loop is tightening. But then you look to the end of the table. There is a figure. Still. Hands folded. Eyes unblinking. They are not laughing. They are not eating. They are watching the artery pulse in your neck. In that split second, the primal cortex in your brain screams a warning your conscious mind ignores. You think they are shy. You think they are socially anxious. You are wrong. You are looking at a predator in the tall grass, and by the time you realize their silence isn't an absence of thought, but a weapon of mass accumulation, it will be too late. The trap was set before you even poured your drink. Welcome to the abyss. Most people fear the shout, the scream, the over-threat. Evolution programmed us to react to noise. A roar means a lion. A thunderclap means a storm. But evolution played a trick on you. The deadliest threats in nature are entirely silent until the moment of impact. The viper, the spider, the accumulation of carbon monoxide. Human psychology is no different. We live in a world that worships the extrovert, the loud, the charismatic. We equate volume with power. We equate visibility with influence. This is a comforting lie, a fabrication designed to keep the herd moving in a predictable direction. The truth is much colder. True power does not advertise itself. It does not need your validation. It does not need your attention. It only needs your data. And while you are speaking, while you are projecting your ego into the room, you are hemorrhaging information. You are bleeding out your insecurities, your desires, your fears, and your weaknesses. The silent person at the end of the table is not disengaged. They are harvesting. They are building a psychological profile of you that is more accurate than the one you hold of yourself. This is not social awkwardness. This is resource management. Consider the energetic cost of speech. To speak is to expose the throat. To speak is to reveal the position. Every word you say narrows your options. Once you declare a stance, you are bound to it. You have created a target. The silent operator understands this visceral law of thermodynamics. They conserve energy. They remain amorphous. If you do not know where they stand, you cannot attack them. If you do not know what they want, you cannot manipulate them. They are a black box. You are a glass house. We must dismantle the myth of the harmless, quiet one. In the clinical shadows of dark psychology, silence is classified as a high-functioning control mechanism. It is an active state, a forceful exertion of will. Think of the effort required not to react. When a joke is told, the social contract demands laughter. When a silence stretches too long, the social contract demands you fill it. To resist these impulses require a level of cortical control that most people simply do not possess. The silent person is overriding billions of years of tribal programming. They are comfortable in the tension that makes you want to crawl out of your skin. They are using the void. The void is a psychological pressure chamber. Humans are terrified of emptiness. We equate silence with rejection, with death. When the silent person refuses to feed the conversation, your brain panics, your amygdala fires. You feel a desperate need to bridge the gap. So you talk more. You overshoot. You reveal the affair. You reveal the embezzlement. You reveal the hatred for your boss. You are throwing sandbags into a rising river, trying to stop the flood of awkwardness, unaware that the person across from you built the dam specifically to watch you drown. You have been lied to about the nature of hierarchy. Look at the boardroom, look at the interrogation room. The person with the most authority speaks east. The subordinate explains. The boss decides. The suspect babbles. The detective waits. Silence is the ultimate signal of dominance. It says, I do not need to impress you. You need to impress me. But there is a darker layer, a subterranean frequency where the psychopaths and the Machiavellians swim. We call this the assessment mode. For the dark triad personality, the narcissist, the Machiavellian, the psychopath, people are not human beings. They are objects. They are chess pieces. They are utility functions. When you buy a car, you do not talk to it. You walk around it. You kick the tires. You check the engine. You listen. The silent person is kicking your tires. They are looking for the rust. They are looking for the cracks in your chassis. They are watching your micro-expressions, the fleeting twitch of the lip that signals contempt, the dilation of the pupil that signals attraction, the subtle shift in posture that signals submission. While you are busy curating your sentences, they are reading your biology. They know you are lying before you finish the word. They know you are afraid before you feel the sweat. This is the betrayal pivot, the moment you realize your entire social strategy has been a suicide note. You thought interaction was a two-way street. You thought you were bonding. You thought that because they were nodding, they were agreeing. They were not agreeing. They were calibrating. They were adjusting their mask to fit your specific neuroses. You provided the blueprint for your own manipulation. You told them exactly what you wanted to hear, and in due time, they will repeat it back to you, verbatim, to gain your trust. And you will believe them, because it sounds like you. It is you, stolen and repackaged. Let us examine the architecture of their camouflage. The silent operator is not invisible. They are gray-rocking in plain sight. They make themselves uninteresting to the threats, but hyper-observant of the opportunities. They are the background radiation of your life, the quiet accountant, the unassuming partner, the listener in the break room. Because they are not perceived as a threat, they are granted access. People say things around the quiet one they would never say around a rival. They become the repository of secrets, the vault of the tribe's sins. And a vault is a dangerous thing to own. Knowledge is potential energy, stored, pressurized. The silent person accumulates leverage, compromat, not necessarily to use it immediately, but to have it, to hold the nuclear codes. This accumulation creates a psychological weight. Have you ever felt drained after spending time with someone who barely spoke? That is not boredom. That is the subconscious realization that you were being fed upon. You were the performer. They were the audience. And the audience always judges the act. Now, we must look at the specific tool, the dangerous mechanic you can see in real life, if you stop looking at your phone and start looking at the eyes. It is called the auditory vacuum. This is how it works. You ask the silent person a question. Where were you last night? Or what do you think of the project? They do not answer immediately. They pause. 4 seconds. 5 seconds. They maintain eye contact. The silence stretches. It becomes physical. It becomes a texture in the room. In that 5 seconds, your brain goes through a crisis. You think you offended them. You think they know something you don't. You think your question was stupid. So you answer it for them. I mean, I know you were probably busy. The project is a mess, right? I know, I think so too. They didn't have to say a word. You negotiated against yourself. You bargained down your own position. They used the vacuum to suck the truth out of your lungs. This is a weaponized pause. It is used by negotiators, interrogators, and high-functioning sociopaths. It forces the victim to fill the void with concessions. If you someone doing this, maintaining uncomfortably long eye contact without speaking, you are not dealing with a slow thinker. You're dealing with a sniper. But what lies beneath the silence? The subconscious mind of the silent observer is a chaotic, high-speed processing unit. While the extrovert processes thought externally, speaking to think, the introvert processes internally. They simulate conversations before they happen. They run decision trees. They anticipate outcomes. By the time they actually speak, the sentence has been drafted, edited, and approved by an internal committee of risk assessors. This makes their words heavy. Scarcity creates value. This is an economic law. It applies to gold. It applies to diamonds. It applies to words. The person who speaks all day inflates their own currency. Their words are cheap, plentiful, disposable. The person who speaks once a day creates a market event. When they open their mouth, the room stops. People lean in. The silence has primed the audience. It has created a stage. This is the oracle effect. We biologically trust the quiet ones more. We assume their silence indicates wisdom, rather than vacancy. We project depth onto them. We assume they are thinking profound thoughts. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they are thinking about how to destroy you. The projection is your enemy. You project your own morality onto their silence. You assume they are quiet because they are polite, because they are nice. You fill in the blanks with your own virtues. This is how the dark empath operates. They let you paint them as a saint while they systematically dismantle your defenses. Let us discuss the shadow observer. In every group, there is a hierarchy. The loud ones compete for the alpha position. They fight, they posture, they burn bridges. The shadow observer sits outside the hierarchy. They are not competing for the alpha spot. They are analyzing the structure so they can own the alpha. The king stands on the balcony yelling at the crowd. The advisor stands in the shadows whispering to the king. Who has the power? The voice or the ear? The silent person targets the ear. They use a technique called subconscious priming. Because they speak rarely, they can insert ideas without triggering your defense mechanisms. A loud person shouting an order triggers resistance. A quiet person whispering a suggestion triggers inception. They plant the seed. They let you water it. They let you believe it was your tree. This requires a total suppression of the ego. The silent operator does not need credit. They need results. They are ghost directors. But what happens when the silence is broken? This is the final warning. There is a threshold, a breaking point. The silent person has a distinct advantage in conflict, the element of surprise. You do not know their triggers because they haven't told you. You do not know their limits because they haven't complained. You push, you think the silence is submission, and then the snap happens. It is not a tantrum. It is a surgical strike. When a silent person decides to move against you, it is usually fatal to the relationship or the career. They have been hoarding your mistakes for months. They have the dates, they have the times, they have the contradictions. They do not argue with you. They present a case against you. They do not fight fair. They fight to end it. The cost of ignoring the silent people is that you never see the knife coming. You are watching the waving hand, not the one in the pocket. We must also address the trauma of silence. Not all silence is predatory. Some is protective. The subconscious mind uses silence as a bunker. If you grew up in a chaotic environment where noise meant danger, silence became survival. These people are not psychopaths. They are veterans of a domestic war. But the mechanism is the same. They learned that invisibility is safety. They learned that to be seen is to be hurt.
Is a hypervigilance. They notice the shift in atmospheric pressure before the storm hits. They smell the change in your mood before you are aware of it. They are the canaries in the coal mine. If the quiet person in the room suddenly leaves or tenses up, you should be terrified. They have detected a threat your conscious mind has missed. But for the dark psychologist, this trauma response is just another tool to be mimicked. They adopt the posture of the victim to hide the intent of the victimizer. Look at the eyes. The eyes of the traumatized are darting, searching, anxious. The eyes of the predator are locked, glacial, absorbing. The difference is intent. One is scanning for an exit. The other is scanning for an entrance into your mind. The silence allows them to bypass your logical brain and speak directly to your subconscious. Nonverbal communication makes up 93% of human interaction. The silent person masters this 93%. They use posture, proximity, and gaze to intimidate or seduce without creating a transcript. You cannot quote a look. You cannot report a vibe to HR. You cannot prove a silence was malicious. It is the perfect crime, plausible deniability woven into the very fabric of interaction. I didn't say anything. Exactly. That was the violence. We live in a noise-polluted era. We are addicted to notification sounds, to podcasts, to the sound of our own voices. We are terrified of the quiet, because in the quiet, we have to face ourselves. The silent person has already faced themselves. They have stared into their own abyss and they did not blink. Now they are staring into yours. You need to reevaluate your circle. Who is the loudest person you know? They are likely the least dangerous. They are exhausted, they are overleveraged. Who is the quietest? Watch them. Watch how they enter a room. They slide in. They find the corner with the view of the door. They minimize their footprint. Watch how they listen. They do not just hear words. They decode syntax. They categorize tone. Watch what happens when they speak. Does the room shift? Does the temperature drop? If you find yourself needing to fill the silence around them, stop. Force yourself to sit in the tension. Mirror their void. Stare back. See what happens when two voids collide. Usually, the mask slips. The predator does not like to be observed. They rely on your blindness. When you look back, when you show them that you know the game, the dynamic changes. You become a threat. But be warned. Stripping the camouflage off a silent operator is dangerous work. They rely on that obscurity. If you shine a light on them, they may flee, or they may decide that you have seen too much. The subconscious secrets of the silent are deep. They tap into the ancient, reptilian parts of our brain. The part that knows that the thing growling in the bushes is scary, but the thing that makes no sound at all is hunting. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers. It is full of plans. It is full of things you are not meant to know until the trap snaps shut. Next time you are at that dinner table and the laughter is loud and the wine is pouring, do not look at the clown in the center. Look at the shadow in the corner. Listen to what they are not saying. because their silence is screaming the truth. And if you don't listen now, you will hear it later, when it's the only sound left in the room. We are biologically wired to trust the pack, to find safety in numbers, to find comfort in the chorus. But the history of human power is not written by the chorus. It is written by the conductors. And the conductor turns his back to the audience. He does not speak. He waves a baton and the noise begins. He lowers a hand and the noise stops. Be the conductor, or be the instrument. There is no third option. The silent people made their choice a long time ago. While you were learning to talk, they were learning to breathe underwater. While you were seeking attention,
They were seeking leverage. Do not ignore them. Do not underestimate them. And for God's sake, do not interrupt them. They are counting down, and you are at 0.